Welcome to the Get Published podcast, sponsored by Brodie Consulting Group. To get more information about our coaching, publishing, executive ghostwriting, and podcast production services, go to getpublishedpodcast.com. Hello, I am Paul Brodie, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Get Published podcast, where we help authors get published with a proven system that works. Today, we're being joined by Brooke Musterman, author of Reptiles on Caffeine. Brooke, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Paul. I'm really excited.
Are you ready to get started?
I am.
All right, question number 1. What is the one piece of advice that you would give to a first-time author who is currently writing their book?
I would say treat it like a business from the get-go. Write the book, but always have it in mind how you're going to sell it. It's going to be your responsibility to sell it. You're not going to want to count on anyone else to market it. So you're going to always want to think about this and just think about how you're going to get the word out, how you're going to get people excited about it. You're going to need to start creating your tribe, to steal a Seth Godin phrase.
Well, and I love that you mentioned that, running your book like a business and then having that realization that as the author, you are the one expected to do that marketing. You know, if you're going the indie route, you're expected to do it. Depends who you go with as a hybrid company. But even traditional publishers now, they expect you to do the lion's share of the marketing. I think that's one of the biggest things people need to realize is you have to get out your comfort zone and you have to help sell your book.
Exactly. You got to just keep talking about it, and you can't expect anyone to do it. I used a indie publisher, a self-publisher, but I've heard from traditional published authors that they have to do the same thing. They have the same problem.
Yeah, and that's what I think one of the biggest realities. And with my company, we're a hybrid publisher, so I always like to say that we're the best of both worlds, where we help with the marketing, but we also make sure that you have a professional-looking book that doesn't look like it's self-published, if you know what I mean.
Right.
Well, what do you feel is the hardest part about getting published?
Well, I think getting published has really never been easier. There's all kinds of, publishing routes you can go. The hard part is selling the book. I mean, you can publish a book pretty easily. It's just selling it that's the hard part.
Well, that transitions perfectly to our next question, and that is, of course, about marketing. So please share a marketing strategy that you have used in your book launch that has worked well.
Well, I've actually, I work at Starbucks, which is honestly like the perfect PR company. You really can't pay for better publicity. Just talking about it I just talk nonstop about it basically, and got other customers excited about it. So, I mean, like everyone, even now, and this was years ago that I published it, they're still asking me about the book. Oh, how's the book? You writing any new books? So they're all kind of on board with me as a writer and, following my successes. And also just social media is really, really, really perfect for marketing. You can't live in a better time for selling things.
So what tactics did you use on social media that you felt worked well with your launch?
Well, Facebook was probably the primary one. I think MySpace was at the time too. Not so much with that one, but Facebook was the main one. And some Twitter.
And were there any particular tactics that you were using? Were you walking people through your journey? What were some of the things that you were doing for content creation to be able to talk about that book constantly?
You're asking how I talked about it?
Yeah. Well, so what are some of your strategies? You talk about mentioning your book on social media, but were there some specific things that you were doing to talk about your book? Were you talking about the journey? Were you talking about writing the book? What were some of the things that you were utilizing as talking points when you were sharing this information on social media?
Well, I did a blog called Reptilian Rantings, and so I would repost those posts, and those were just kind of just articles related to my book, maybe a few excerpts, but mostly just kind of related with the same topic, which was stress. And so basically I just shared those, and I had a Facebook group, and we all kind of, I would just kind of discuss things and ask questions like, oh, like what are some of your biggest stressors, or tell a funny a funny thing you had to deal with today that caused stress, and just kind of discussion, getting people talking about it. That's pretty much it. And I would just tweet, things, routes of marketing things that I was doing, and just kind of letting people know, just kind of keeping people up to date with what I was doing. Like if I was selling the book, I had some book signings, so I would post about those. And if I had if I was in another bookstore, like an independent bookstore, I would tell them. So I just kind of let people know like what was going on, news wise.
Well, and you bring up some good points too, and I love the fact that you're asking essentially open-ended questions too, and that's just such a great way to draw out responses with your platform, so to speak.
Mhm. Yeah, it really was, because everyone has a story. I mean, everyone, especially about stress, and that's why I picked the topic, because you can't go wrong. You can't run out of material. So it is something everyone deals with. So everyone has a funny stress story. So it was just really interesting hearing everyone else's responses and hearing them get excited about it, and just feeding off their energy, I guess.
Well, let's talk about your favorite book. So, what is your favorite book, and what was the number one thing that you learned from it?
Well, my favorite book, and you're going to laugh, it's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
That's a great book.
It's a fantastic book. I remember reading it when I was younger, and I just loved it. And I picked it up like not too long ago, and I was just reading it again, and I didn't realize how dark it was, but it's I love Roald Dahl, and I think the message is so true, and it's just a great book, and it just shows how the little guy can win sometimes. The little guy wins, and it just gives us such an accurate portrayal of human nature. I know these people now as adults, like they're like his friends, like the kids he was with. I work with them.
And for a final question, what is your favorite quote and why?
Okay, my favorite quote is from Ralph Waldo Emerson. Finish each day and be done with it. You have done what you could. Some blunders and absurdities have crept in. Forget them as soon as you can. Tomorrow is a new day. You shall begin it serenely and with too high a spirit to be encumbered with your old nonsense.
I love that. It's a new day. Yes, it is.
And it encapsulates my life, basically.
Well, it's a good way to look at it. Just hit reset. It's a new day. Get on out there. So that's a great quote.
So thank you. I can totally relate to it.
Brooke, I want to thank you for being a guest on the show. What is the best way for people to find you online?
Well, I have a podcast, Let's Talk Art with Brooke, and you can go to the website, letstalkartwithbrooke.com. That's all one word, and Brooke with an E, and that's probably the best way to get to me.
Well, Brooke, thank you once again for being on the show, and I wish you all the best in your author journey ahead.
Thank you so much, Paul. I really appreciate it.
Thanks again for joining us today. To learn more about how you can be featured in our brand new Get Published business book, go to getpublishedpodcast.com.